Wayne's on.
Hi, everybody watching my
I'm going on.
page, watching everybody else get set up, but like, you know, who's always ready? Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, me. Actually, I think I might have to adjust my screen, unless. Okay. So what's going on, everyone?
Hi, Wine Wednesday, people.
I just got a notification that you're live.
You did?
Who? Me?
You.
Oh, hi. I am live. We're far
He
away.
is. Are you far away? You want me to do something while I'm up?
Hi, Amy Long.
Or are we just good to go?
We're good.
All right.
This is vintage.
Happy Wine Wednesday.
Wait.
It's a celebration.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm not drinking today.
Cheers, Wayne.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wayne's got an appointment right after this. No drinking.
No drinky.
That's okay.
Happy birthday, Melissa, if she's out there.
Melissa,
yes.
we should sing happy birthday.
Oh,
Nobody wants
Maybe
that.
not.
We need Corey here to sing happy birthday. 'Cause
Yeah.
he gets all like with the harmonies and
Oh,
stuff.
really?
Don't you remember?
No.
Whose birthday? And he was like, yes, Corey, you do
Was that
that.
when they had the CE here? It was
I don't
something
even
like
know because I wasn't there for the CE, but he did, and I was impressed. And then I was like,
Hey, Carl.
anyway, Carl. What's going on, Carl?
Carl sends out the coolest holiday cards. I'll have to show you guys a picture offline. So we've been talking about sellers for a while.
We have.
Because we want them.
Yeah.
We want you to
We're
list.
sellers,
We're
but,
begging.
Cheers.
Hey, Robert. Hey, Herb.
but now we're going back to buyers.
Yes.
We are.
We're going back to buyers because there's a lot of buyers out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
There.
But there's a lot of people who probably want to be buyers.
Mhm.
And are scared
Maybe have some
to be buyers.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
We're here for you.
We're here to hold your hand. So that's a wrap. Happy
Yeah.
Wine Wednesday.
Call us if you want to buy.
Call us and we'll hold your hand through the process.
I can't sing this song. I want to drink
I want to hold your hand.
it. So,
Lovely.
Thank you.
So what are the buyer's common fears?
Well, you know, yeah.
I have a
Biggest
lot of
one?
buyers that are scared with their credit score.
Credit score. That's a pretty scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
It can be.
And I think maybe the fear comes from actually not knowing maybe what the credit score is.
Mhm.
Right.
And maybe not knowing what a credit score needs to be
Mm-hmm.
to qualify for a loan.
I think people think it has to be higher than.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. People think that there's a standard, which there is a standard, but sometimes it's lower than what you may expect.
Right. And I think that it's also working with the right partner can be easy and quick to improve. I mean, I know I have a lender partner that I work with that can help people
With
to
credit
improve their
repair.
credit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's something too, you know, one of the things we always say is there is no obligation to have a conversation with someone just to find out where you need to be. Oftentimes, I have, in my experience, found with my clients, it's a very pleasant surprise that
Yes.
they can actually qualify or that, you know, maybe a month's worth of work that they need to do. And there's, you know, there's stuff, easy stuff that you can do to get those credit scores up. And yeah, I mean, I know my partners as well in lending also have tips for you. I keep wanting to say tricks, but that's not a trick. I mean, it's just,
Right.
you know. So I think also in line with that, maybe can I afford to buy a home is another fear. People just don't know.
Should we tell them what the credit score, like the minimum credit score is to buy a house? I mean,
If you want to.
Oh, hi, Lance.
so I mean, well, you can buy a house with your credit score being 580.
Mhm.
Some lenders can go down to that. So
Yeah.
there are programs out there, and then if you wanted to be higher, so you can qualify for some down payment assistance, then they can help you get your credit score up for that as well.
Absolutely.
And there's plenty of free resources out there to find out what your score is if you don't know. So
Mhm.
a lot of credit cards these days offer a free credit score check, like where you can log on and it'll update once a month what your score is, or you go to some of these other websites that are out there. They're not necessarily the be-all, end-all as far as your
Right.
score is concerned, but it's a good gauge that if you don't know where you are to find out.
Yeah, because it can be confusing. There's 3 different scores, and lenders look at one of them.
Mhm.
So
Right.
oftentimes people just don't know which one that is.
Well, and each lender I think looks at maybe a different one. You know,
Yeah.
I think they use different reporting
Standards.
services.
Right. And some items on your credit report you can explain and lessen their impact. There are some lenders in certain circumstances that will let you sort of explain the scenario of why this thing happened, and then their underwriting team may take that into account.
Yeah, I think too that with the credit scores, people just don't know what their credit is. How do I fix credit if I need to? I mean, there's so much. My credit's going to get dinged again if someone looks at it, and that's a big fear that I come across is, I don't want it to go lower because I'm looking into this.
Right.
So.
Another thing too, you can go to, I can't remember what the federal website is, it just slipped my mind, but you can go to a website and I believe it's each year you're entitled to a free complete credit report from one of the credit reporting agencies, and you can actually look at everything on there and see if there are things that maybe you've forgotten about, that you didn't know about, that you really do owe, and go ahead and get those paid off.
Sure.
Right.
As an easy first step. But on the paying side, though, I think a lot of folks are always worried about down payment. They're like, oh, but I need 20%.
Yeah, and that's another thing, that if you have the right resources, like an agent with the wherewithal to know, which I think probably we all do now. The programs are so different now than they used to be. And, there's grant programs. You can qualify.
Right.
One lender I work with has $500 down program. It's just a matter of knowing the right resources and the right lenders.
And what program's right for you.
Yeah.
To apply with.
Yeah. There's down payment assistance. There's all sorts of stuff out there now.
And really, I mean, you only need, FHA is 3.5%. So,
right.
And then, as Jenny was saying, there's programs out there that will even help defray or possibly pay all of that.
Grant money, yeah.
Yeah. So, pretty much there's a way around all of this. Is I guess what we're getting to. So, with a little bit of elbow grease.
Right. If you want to put the work into it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Or work with us who've put the work in and let us know where to direct you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's part of what I find so important is developing those relationships, to have the people in your pocket, so to say, to know who's going to be a good fit for someone.
Right.
Ultimately, it's your choice who you want to work with, but at least I know I have developed relationships with different people that have different programs, and talk to a few people. You're looking out for number one, so that's
you get a few different interest rates and things like that.
right,
So.
right, exactly.
Right.
Everyone's got different programs. What about one of the points on here? I have no idea what I'm doing. How am I supposed to successfully buy a home?
Well,
Again,
that's what we're here for. Yeah.
It's a step-by-step process for sure.
Your lender, your agent,
Title company,
all these people are here to help you, and that's why we get paid to do what we do, is because we know what to do. So,
and that's what we love. I mean, that's what I love about doing what I'm doing, is the education part of it. I mean, I'm happy to hold your hand through the whole thing, and whatever question. Sometimes I think it comes down to you don't know what you don't know,
right?
So you think you should have all these questions, and but maybe you don't, and that's fine, because you just haven't been through the process before. So you just, you don't know what you don't know.
And
Hashtag.
There's no such thing as a dumb question. So don't worry about that you're going to ask us a question and we're just going to roll our eyes and laugh at you.
No.
I mean, we know that we do this several times throughout the year, and you do it maybe once, 2, 3 times in your life. So, we're not going to judge you or ridicule you because you ask a question.
Well, I think too, oftentimes people come up with stuff that I've never been asked before, and I just don't know the answer to myself. I mean, I feel like I always talk about what I love doing about what I do, but so much of it is I love what I do, and it's educational for me as well. So every transaction,
you learn something new.
Something new every single time. Every time, I don't care how many transactions. I would never consider myself an expert, because there's still so much that happens that you just have never experienced before or have been asked before. So ask away, please.
And that's what we lean
I
on
learned
each other.
too.
I think collectively, if we don't know the answer, we know how to find it and where to figure it out.
Find it right away.
Right.
Yeah. so much of our brokerage too is a team atmosphere. We all, you know, we've got questions and we don't know, we ask each other, and someone has experience or has been through it. So
yeah, I think it's step by step. So you can't really. I think going over every step all at once is just really overwhelming. So it's just first you get pre-approved, then you find a house that you like, and make sure that you're comfortable with the payment. So that's another one of the fears is not being able to afford the payment. But you definitely want to talk to your lender and understand, which is why it's step one, to understand what your payment's going to be with your taxes, your insurance, and all of that in there. So it's not just a mortgage payment, you have to pay for other things as well.
Yeah, and I think we all come from a place too where just because your max might be a number, that might not be the number for you to spend on a house. And I certainly would never want any of my clients to be, you know, because let's face it, as you go higher and higher and higher in price, the houses, I mean, it just, you're going to fall in love. And if you can be house rich but money poor, what's the point?
Right.
You know, I just, so yeah, it's, you know, not knowing what you can afford, that's an education in and of itself, and something I think that scares people. You know, I think the idea of buying a house is overwhelming and scary. But I often say too, it's like when you buy a car or buy any of these big purchases, it's so easy. Like it's easy. It's not a hard process. And then you get to the end, and you're like, I can't believe they let me do that. I just bought a car.
Right.
You know.
Right. And I mean, I think, you know, Amanda hit on the point that it is more than just your payments. I think a lot of people go in with this, you know, my budget's $200,000. Well, house A may have a significantly different payment than house B.
Right.
Depending upon where the houses are. So, and I think people typically do get pre-approved for more than what they're comfortable spending. In most cases, it seems. So, I mean, those are personal decisions and things you have to have kind of figured out on your own, you know, where you're comfortable payment-wise. But like Amanda said, you know, each house is going to have a different payment, even if it's the same price as another one that you've already looked at, because taxes vary, insurance may vary. All of these things are variables that don't remain constant. So,
Sarah says hi, everyone.
Hi, Sarah.
She gives us a little shout out. Go 43 Homes. Miss you guys.
oh,
we miss you. See you Friday.
You know, I think another fear that folks have is just that what they're getting into when they buy the house. You know, don't remember how many people remember the movie from the 80s, The Money Pit.
Oh gosh, yeah. And sometimes they are.
Sometimes they are, but you know, doing your due diligence, you know, getting a good quality inspector and that you trust, you know, paying for all those tests for things that you might want. Like when we bought our house, we were dumb and we did not have the fireplace inspected, and we did not have the hot tub inspected, and we were told by the seller, oh yeah, they work. And so wintertime came around, we decided to have the chimney swept out, and they said, you cannot burn a fire in this. Oh, and by the way, the hot tub didn't work either. And, you know, a little bit of money on that chimney inspection, because it was more important to us than the hot tub, would have meant that we would have had an operational fireplace.
Yeah.
Which was actually something that we really, really, really wanted.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, some of it gets chalked up to home ownership. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Right.
you try to do your due diligence, but there is going to be some money you're going to have to invest in
Right.
your house at some point.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's going to be repair, there's going to be, you know, stuff that needs to be replaced.
Servicing.
Yeah, I mean, it just is. So just go into it knowing, you know, there's repair. It's just a part
You want
of
to
life.
upkeep, but you want to upkeep your house.
Right.
So I mean,
It's the same as anything, car,
Mhm.
whatever.
Change your oil.
Yeah, I mean,
change your tires.
there's stuff you have to do. So
Someone once said, you're buying a house, you're not buying a new house.
Right.
And in most instances, that's true, right?
Yeah.
You're buying
even
a
if
used
you're
house.
buying a new house, it's still
there's still stuff.
Right, there's still going to be
Yeah.
stuff, but you know, realize that if your house was built in the 40s or in 1900, you're going to have issues.
Yeah, there's going to be stuff. It's always stuff.
Yep.
Always stuff. So, I don't know. Anyone else have it? I mean, this was a short one. There's
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, there are some that are longer and some that are shorter, but
Yeah.
I think that
And then, you know, I guess it goes along with it that if you lose money on your house, that they overpay for it now, and then what's it going to be worth in 5 years? So.
Well, if I had that crystal ball.
Exactly. I'm like, I would
mean,
not.
Right.
I wouldn't be in real estate.
I would be
Anyway,
investing
I might be
in-
the president of the United States. I mean, you know,
I'd be rich.
there's just no way to know
Right.
economic.
I mean, Columbus is one of the #1 growing cities. So
We've seen so much growth in the last year after year after year after year. Is it going to continue? I mean, at some point you think it can't, but it just seems to be year after year after year. And you know, this is a hotbed of technology and so much. You know, businesses are moving in, and
there's still land to be developed.
yeah. There's some suburbs that are landlocked, but there's so. I mean, you know, it just
And even
keeps
there, they're
growing.
tearing them down and building on top of
Yeah.
old houses.
Yeah, so, you know, real estate is and probably likely always will be one of the safest investments.
Right.
It's not like investing in money. And
always
that's
have to have somewhere to live.
yeah, and I always tell my clients too, you know, it's not you invest in a 401k stock market, I mean that's so volatile. But real estate, yeah, we crashed, but for the most part, most areas are back now, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't you say
I
over
don't
the
think
last
any area is not.
yeah, so
I mean,
you know, and too, like you buy a rental property. I mean, you get that paid off. That's pure income just coming in, and it's a better retirement plan, in my opinion, than you know that 401k that is growing right now today. Last week, not so much, but
Right.
I have a client who has specifically pulled money out of the real estate market to start investing in real estate because he views it to be a smarter investment.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done well for himself in investments, so it's pretty good advice.
So yeah, there's ups and downs, but I mean, it's
Right.
still pretty safe. So I think that
Right.
that
Like I said,
concern.
I think that you always have a place to live, so
And ultimately-
it doesn't have to be a bad investment.
It comes down to you're paying a mortgage payment anyway. If you're
Right.
paying rent, you're paying someone's mortgage.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, you're
Absolutely.
paying your landlord's mortgage. So why would you just not invest in yourself?
Mhm.
Right.
Yep. And you're also, I mean, there's other benefits to owning the home. Right? So,
Absolutely.
I mean, in addition to appreciation, there's tax benefits. You know,
For right now.
yeah. Well, you know, in Columbus, I think pretty stable. You know, in other parts where, taxes and house values and loan amounts are more, there were some recent changes, but for the most part, most people in Central Ohio are still able to write off interest and taxes.
Yeah.
And that stuff. So, talk with your accountant, and then, if you're worried about payment, you can change deductions and, how you itemize on your taxes, possibly to have more take-home income, because you may not get a bigger tax refund at the end of the year, but there are ways around to increase your take-home pay, because now you're going to be itemizing your taxes. So sorry about that.
I think
Talk to your accountant about that stuff.
Yeah.
I think one common theme that we keep hitting on that we've never really just said outright is buying a home is a team sport. Because there are a lot of folks involved. There are,
a lot of cogs in the wheel.
And our job is to help you sort of navigate it.
Yes. Yeah.
We're helping you navigate that ship.
There's portions of it that we do. There's portions of it your inspector's going to do. There's portions of a bigger part of what your lender is doing. That's probably
Lender, title.
yeah.
No, there are safeguards in place for just about every part
Right.
of this, and so you get far enough down the road, and something's out of whack. You're not necessarily locked into to even finish the process. If something comes up major wrong with the house, or financing for some reason does fall apart, no one's gonna hold a gun to your head and at that point make you buy the house, as long as you still have an out.
Yeah, the only time that it gets questionable is if you continue looking at that home search and find one you like better. Once you're like
That
2
is
days
not a
away
valid-
from closing, that is not a
Please don't
valid,
do that.
get out of the
Not a valid
contract.
excuse, so, but I think with that, is there anything else? Or
No, I don't think so.
Well,
Unless
what's
anyone out
next
there has
week's topic?
questions,
What's next week's
Next
topic,
week?
remember?
pause.
gotta look at the list.
It is. Do I get a drum roll? First time homebuyer pitfalls.
There we go.
Nice.
We're gonna kind of continue
Back
this
on the
conversation,
bias.
so.
So I won't be
That
here
was
for
a
that one.
plan. That I did that.
So
on
folks will
purpose.
have to watch on your pages, because I won't be here, because that is our adoption day.
Adoption day. Gotcha day.
Yes, gotcha day. So we're supposed to finalize on Wednesday.
Very good.
Awesome.
I'm gonna take that day off.
We should.
Sort of.
All right, everyone.
With that,
All
we'll
right,
see you
well-
next week, and you'll see TJ in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So.
Cheers,
Cheers,
everybody.
cheers, everyone.